Another showdown on Capitol Hill is in the works as Congress looks to avoid a government shutdown in just 2 weeks. New House Speaker Mike Johnson said he'd back alternate plans to keep the government running until January, but negotiations will be happening at the same time lawmakers work to pass President Biden's request for more than $100 billion for both Ukraine and Israel. Republicans are backing a plan that omits any aid to Ukraine and assistance to Gaza. Richard Gordon is a lawyer and a veteran political consultant at all levels of government, joining me this morning to talk about the stalemate inside the Capitol. Richard, it's been a long time. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So under this new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who has MAGA-related views, he's certainly one of the conservatives, not supporting money for Ukraine, and in order to give money to Israel, wants to defund the IRS by over $14 billion. What do you expect to happen?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's never happened in the history of the United States and Israel that there's been conditional support. So this is the first time. This is a true break from that. The House will vote to give the money to Israel. But the problem we have here is it's going to go to the Senate, and it is dead on arrival. There is no way the Senate, even the Republicans in the Senate, are going to support this.
So does Mike Johnson learn a lesson from this? I mean, he's being true to the MAGA base, but he's got to sit across from Biden and talk about the budget at some point.
Right, but this is a different game. That's not the game he's playing. The game he's playing is it's a choice between the IRS or Israel. And he's trying to get Democrats to vote with the IRS. He's trying to get the Democrats to vote to be intrusive into your life.
And say they don't support Israel.
And say they don't support Israel.
We're seeing Ukraine kind of fall off the front burner in Americans' minds, I think, as the war goes on. As 2024 approaches in the election season, Israel, which is very front burner today, how do you see all of that developing as we go forward?
The Ukraine piece of it? I think
no, the Israeli piece of it.
Well, the Israeli piece of it. Look, the Israeli piece of it is extraordinarily dangerous for the president on many levels. He has been unequivocal in his support for Israel, as he should be. However, that is disappointing some people in very key constituencies. So, for example, by alienating the Arab community in Michigan, he runs a real risk of losing Michigan. And he only won it by a couple points last time. That is a real problem.
And just briefly, I'm going to move on from that. But if Speaker Johnson should begin to compromise with the Democrats or with Biden, do we expect the same vote that was McCarthy's fate?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
They'll take him out.
Let's talk about the presidential race.
Sure.
Mike Pence is out. Mike Pence, being the sort of Reagan-esque kind of Republican, didn't have a chance. We're only left as the debate comes up this week. As far as I can see, there's only 4 candidates who are going to make it. Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy, Chris Christie, and DeSantis. Everybody else seems not to be able to make it. Is it time for everybody to drop out and consolidate to one person who then takes on Donald Trump?
Oh, most definitely so. I think the time is now. Look, Nikki Haley is the only person I think who has any chance, personally, of catching.
Why? Because she goes after Trump without saying his name?
She can, but she also has a broad appeal. She's a wonderful person. She was a good governor. She's articulate. She has plans. She has an idea. She really has an idea of where she wants to take the country. And her background, I think, both personal background and political background, make her formidable. If she is the Republican nominee, she will be very difficult.
Is she smart to say, I will not be friendly with Kim Jong-un without talking about the fact that Trump is? Or does she just sort of let voters fill in the blank, as opposed to Chris Christie, who would go right after Trump on those issues?
I think it's a mistake. I think if you want to, what's the phrase? You want to beat the king, you got to kill the king. I mean, I think she has to go after him. And I think it's a mistake on her part not to. Look, she's so far behind. They're all so far behind. They have to do something to really shake this up. If they don't, he'll be the Republican nominee.
Briefly, we've got RFK Jr., who was going to be a Democrat. Now he's going as an independent. Of course, the Green Party with Cornel West. These third parties and extra parties, who's more in trouble, Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
This has changed because with Bobby Kennedy running as a third party, it looks like it's going to hurt Trump more. Cornel West hurts Biden more. And if Biden loses 2% of the vote in a number of different states, he will lose. That's how close the election was last time. So we'll have to see. But with RFK Jr. in the race, all indications are it's hurting Trump.
Let's talk a little bit about this study conducted by the Center of Politics at University of Virginia. You sit on the board, so let me disclose that. But some fascinating results.
Troubling.
24% of Democrats say that democracy is no longer a viable system, and indeed 30% support states seceding from the Union like a Civil War thing. That's Democrats, not Republicans.
That's what's so shocking, Paul, and that's the most interesting thing I think came out of this study, the thing that bothered me the most. Look, I think number of us, think that that's a Republican idea, a Trumpian idea. to see that that is a democratic idea, to secede from the country, to have a civil war. There were a lot of things in the study that show that people would suspend elections. There are things that say people would suspend the First Amendment.
And by the way, the study says, and support violence as a means for
support
achieving the
violence.
ends.
A lot of people said, if I don't get my way, I support violence. Now, we all looked at January 6th as that was an aberrant thing. When you read this study, you sort of say to yourself, my God, this could happen again, and it could happen from both sides of the aisle. That's what's so stunning about the study.
By the way, it looks just a few seconds left, but the takeaway seems to be that January 6th made a permanent change, not a temporary change, but in everybody, not just MAGA Republicans.
I think that's true. I think what's happened is, with many things going on in the country, they become almost like assimilated. They almost become part of us. Things that were outlandish, that we could never, ever, ever believe or accept, January 6th, has now become part of our framework and has become part of, well, this could happen and we can accept this. And if they did it, we can do it. And you see this throughout politics now. You see this in the rise of anti-Semitism. You see this in the rise of not trusting anybody. You see this in the destruction of institutions.
These are concerning results. People can check it out. Center of Politics, University of Virginia. Richard Gordon, thanks for being in. We appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
All right.
Thank you.
One more break. We're coming right back. Stay with us.